sketching quadratics and polynomial form. So to do this, sketch quadratics and polynomial form, we find the x and y axes intercepts. We can find the axis of symmetry and the turning point. Because we find symmetry, the x part of that, right, that's what the axis of symmetry is, the middle of the graph, then that gives us the x part of the turning point, and then we can substitute back into our equation to find the y part of our turning point. So remember, the axis of symmetry, it's in between the x values, halfway between the x values, so we add the two x values together and we divide by 2, and then we substitute it into the equation to find the y part. So the example 1 says, find the x and y intercepts and the turning point, and hence sketch the graph of y equals x squared minus 4x. Doesn't really matter which one you do first. Okay, so I'm going to go and set y equal to 0 so I can find the x-intercept. So x-intercept, y equals 0 for me. So I get x squared minus 4x equals 0. Factorize it, so I get x minus 4 equals 0, and therefore, using the null factor theorem, x equals 0 or x equals 4. So I've got my x-intercepts 0, 0 and 4, 0. Now I'm going to do my y-intercept. And to do my y-intercept, I put x equal to 0. Well, that's already there. If x is 0, y equals 0, I'm not going to redo that one. It also asks for the turning point. Now for the turning point, I'll do the turning point over here. I'm going to add my two x values together to get to the middle of it, the axis of symmetry, because that's my x part of the turning point. My two x values I just worked out, 0 and 4. So add them together, 0 plus 4, and halve them. So my x part of the turning point is 2. Now I'm going to sub that part, x equals 2, into my y equation, which I didn't label, so I'm just going to put it as y. So therefore I get y equals 2 squared minus 4 times 2. Now 2 squared is 4, and this part is negative 8. Therefore my y equals negative 4. So my turning point is x being equal to 2 and my y being equal to negative 4. Now they're asking me to sketch the graph, so I'll sketch the graph over here as best I can again. Okay, so I get my axis y, my x. I know I need my 0, 0. There it is. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I know I need x is 2 and down to y equals negative 4 because that's my turning point. So that's negative 1, negative 2, negative 3. Keep the spacing consistent. Negative 4. So this graph, intercept there, intercept there. And the turning point is at 2, negative 4, which lines up at about there. So again, I'll try and do the best graph that I possibly can. Goes through there, turns, oops, a little bit skewed there, and there's my graph, y equals x squared minus 4x. Example 2. Example 2 says to find the x and y axes intercepts and the coordinates of the turning point, and hence sketch the graph of y equals x squared minus 9. So again, let's do the first one. It doesn't matter which one you find out first. I'm going to say x-intercept, put y equal to 0. Putting y equal to 0, we get x squared minus 9 equals 0. X squared equals 9. So x will equal plus and minus 3 when I take the square root. So my first one of them is 3 and 0. and my other one is -3 and 0. That's my x-intercepts. Y-intercept I'll do down here. Intercept, I put x equal to 0. So putting x equal to 0, I get y equals -9. So 0, -9 is my y-intercept. And now my turning point. Remember, for the turning point, the x part, add the two x values together. So I've got -3 plus 3 and halve it. And if you do that, you end up getting 0. And I already know that when x equals 0, because I've already done it over here, y equals -9. So the turning point is the same part as the y-intercept. So graphing this one, I've got my axes, y and x. I've got to go down to -9, 1, 2, 3, 4. Looks like I'm going up by 2s. So -10, -8, -6, -4, -2. I can do the x's by 1s. I've got to go to -3 and +3. Okay, marking them all down. -3, 0, 3, 0, and 0, -9. And because there's no number there, I'm just going to label that one as well and try and do a smooth graph as best I can. Hopefully I can start getting this a little bit better for you. And label it y equals x squared minus 9. Example 3. We've got find the same thing, but this time we've got x squared plus x minus 12. So I'm going to see if I can factorize it by leaving y equal to 0, because this is what you do, and that gives you the x-intercepts. So x squared plus x minus 12 equals 0. So trying to factorize it now and then solving for the x straight away. It should work. If I get +4 and -3, that will give me the plus x and -12. So there we go there. So therefore x equals 3 or x equals -4. So I have two intercepts on the x-axis, 3, 0, -4 and 0. A y-intercept, we put x equal to 0. That's what the whole point of factorization is. X equals 0 and we get y equals -12. So this one is 0 and -12. And the turning point, we'll do the x part of the turning point over here. Turning point, we have -4 plus 3 divided by 2, which means it's -1/2. So that's what the x part is. And I'm going to substitute x equals -1/2 into y. Therefore I get y equals -1/2 squared becomes 1/4, minus 1/2, and minus 12. Now 1/4 minus 1/2 is just minus 1/4, and I've got minus 12, so this really is minus 12 and 1/4. So that's pretty easy to work out like that. So this turning point is -1/2 and -12 and 1/4. Probably going to be a little bit hard for me to draw this, but I will try, and again try my best to do it. Okay, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, negative, 14, -12, -10, -8, -6, -4, -2. X, I've got to go at least a +3. 1, 2, 3. There's my X. And -4. -1, -2, -3, -4. That's my y, better label than my axes like that. So 3, 0 is one of the x-intercepts, negative 4, 0 is the other intercept, and negative 0, negative 12 is the y-intercept, and then negative a half and negative 12 1/4, which is right here, is my turning point. So I'm just going to put it like that, so the graph comes like this. So I know that that was my turning point. Comes up like this, crosses there, and up here. Put my arrows on it and label it y equals x squared plus x minus 12. There's your calculator steps. You can follow it. You have to go to your entry line or your graphs and geometry and type it in. So you type in what you see, so x squared plus x minus 12, press enter and the graph will show. And that's your 4F questions.